All right, guys, welcome back. This is the fifth episode of the Pandemic Post. And today we're going to be looking at Georgia, not the state, the country. And today we have a very special guest, Aline. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, thanks for having me. My name's Aline, and I'm from Georgia. I'm 18 years old. I live in Tbilisi, and I'm really happy to be here doing this podcast with you.
Generally, as just the first question, I know a lot of the people, especially because a lot of my audience is Western, they might actually not know even much about this country. So it'd be great if you could just give us a brief description of maybe how coronavirus has started, when did it start, and where you guys are at a point right now.
Okay, so the COVID-19 pandemic started in the spring, but we had some few cases in February, and the lockdown, it happened in the spring, like a little over 2 months, I would say. Right now, I think we're facing another upcoming lockdown because, we've had some rising numbers of COVID cases every day. For example, today we had 157 new cases, which is a really high numbers. We haven't had this high number in a while, and I'd say we used to be in the green zone, but now I think we've moved to the orange zone. Yeah, makes sense. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So like for us, we also are having a second wave. We've actually just hit 1,000 cases a day again. We were at 100,
Oh.
200. So we were actually doing pretty well. Like we thought we were managing the second rise pretty well, but like right now, it's definitely looking like we're gonna have to put back regulations. So for you, was Georgia like very like social distancing, a lot of quarantine, like curfews, or was it not as rigorous?
Yeah, so we had a lockdown with curfew at 9 p.m. for 2 months, I guess, and we were all social distancing. But then we kind of managed to control this situation, and then without any lockdowns or quarantine, people went out and they decided it was not that dangerous out there. And now I think it's that attitude that got us into this situation where we have a lot of new cases, and like most of the time they don't even know like how it happened, who infected who, or stuff like that. And now, although we are still free to go wherever we feel like, it's strongly recommended that we stay home, practice social distancing, always wear a mask. Well, I think we've been wearing a mask all the time. It's not the cause of this second wave, but still, I think most of the people forgot how it used to be and how dangerous it was.
Yeah. So do you think like even though the government is trying to enforce it, are people following it, or do you feel like the majority or just a significant portion of the people that are like, it's probably okay, we can go out, and that's obviously making it a lot worse?
I think most, like, a significant part of people still think that it's not a big deal, and some of them, they've been having huge weddings, and that's actually one of the reasons that like a significant portion of infected cases popped up this last days, and I think most of the people do not really understand how challenging this can be, but other than them, others we're trying to stay safe.
Do you think there's like not enough info, like people just aren't aware? Do you think people just don't realize that it's like super contagious and that it might actually come back even worse than the first time, let's say?
I think that's the reason, because they don't really understand how it works, how the infectious disease spreads so fast, and I think they could use a little bit more information about how to stay safe, what to avoid, where to go, where not to go, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think in a lot of places, like if we look at the US, right? In a lot of my interviews, I've talked about the US because it's just so, if you compare it to any country, there's always something in like comparison. I think here there's a huge perception for a lot of people that if the government doesn't really perceive it as a big deal, it's not that big of a deal. Like for example, obviously we know in the US there's a lot of protests against like wearing masks and social distancing because people feel like it's not worth it, like for the economy, right? I think it's very common in situations probably similar to Georgia where people are like, well, I mean, it's not that bad, right? But then that mentality kind of just spirals out and out of control. And I want to ask for your family, Are you guys, would you say you're one of the more like rigid, like we'll follow the guidelines and like stay home more often, or are you, I don't know, somewhere in the middle?
Oh, yeah. I think my family and I were all trying to follow all the rules, and we've like I've been wearing a mask like for so many hours in a day because when I have to, well, if I have to go to a shop or I don't know anywhere, even in the streets, I wear a mask. I try to just keep my distance from other people, and mostly, and I also try to stay home. That's what our family does, and most of the families that I know. But apparently, some people still engage in social gatherings and
Mm.
events.
And for you guys, would you say like compared to countries around you, are you guys doing better or worse?
I think we're doing better than quite a lot of countries, I would
Mm.
say, because we've been in the green zone for, well, most of the summer. And we opened airports and there were flights from Europe. I think, yeah.
Yeah.
And but now I think there was some kind of I'm not even sure what caused this second wave to pop up all of a sudden, but I guess we were expecting it to
Mm.
happen at some point. So it's important to be ready for
Yeah.
whatever future has for us.
I think a lot of countries are having second waves. Like South Korea, I interviewed Kevin, right? They're having a
Yeah,
second, third wave at this point. I don't even know. We're having a second wave. You guys are having a second wave. The only country that hasn't had a second wave is the US because they never got over their first wave. So, I
exactly.
mean, it's kind of it's kind of worrying because is this just an endless cycle? I mean, is it just going to go forever and ever like the flu, right? If
Yeah,
if the vaccine doesn't come out for another 3, 4, half a year, a whole year, nothing seems like it's going to be able to stop it, right? And even I've heard that the vaccines, their max maybe going to be able to protect you for like 1, 2, 3 years, maybe. So
oh
yeah, it doesn't even feel like a permanent thing. This is almost like it's going to combine with the flu to be like a seasonal thing. It's just going to come every single year. It might just become another part of our daily lives. How do you feel about that if it's just going to be constantly
yeah.
there?
Yeah, I think well, COVID's obviously here. It's not
Mm.
going anywhere in the foreseeable future, and we kind of have to learn to live with it and learn to live safely. And even if it means that we'll have to, take our vaccines in 2 years, like every 2 years or every 3 years or every year, I guess we should do it because if that's what it takes to stay healthy and safe, I don't see why we wouldn't do that. But
Yeah.
I heard that vaccines, like some of the vaccines, they are paused for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, there's a lot of different countries that are doing their own vaccines. U.S. has them, Russia had one, China's doing a ton, Western Europe. They're all trying to do their like third level testing, which is basically testing on humans, like clinical patients. We'll have to see the results. It's very hard to tell right now, but I think what we know for sure is that there's at least 2, 3 months until at least anything comes out. Do you know anyone near you that's been affected? Like maybe they've gotten sick, maybe I don't know, someone's lost their job. Has anything like that happened to anyone that you know?
Not personally, like my friends or my family members or my relatives, they haven't experienced any such thing. But I've read so many articles, and um, I've watched TV, and they're saying that this situation is really getting out of hand economically. Some people lost their jobs. Some people have really, really just severe cases and really intense
Yeah.
um, cases of COVID. So yeah, it's obviously
Hmm.
a little bit of um, struggle.
Yeah. Would you say your country's generally more like we got to get this problem solved? Like we have two sides, right? We have like China, those kind of Eastern Asian countries who really focused on like pushing those cases down fast. Or would you say you're more of the Western countries where like, either they don't enforce as much or they're kind of more loose with the regulations? What side do you think your country would be on?
I think we're mostly in the regulation concentrated side because, well, when we had a lockdown, we had very strict curfew and everything. But as for now, right now, we don't have that many regulations. It just schools have been like postponed and every university and every high school or middle school or even primary school, they've been well, their beginning point has been shifted.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, to 1st of October. So I guess we're approaching the regulation concentrated
Yeah.
time.
Does the country or the people, do you guys care about the election? Like, do you care about Trump? Do you care about the future of whoever's getting elected? Or is it kind of just like, USA is doing their thing, we're doing our thing, we don't really care? Because a lot of the countries I've interviewed, it's really important for them.
Yeah, I think most of the people here care about. Well, they don't exactly know a lot of about like election situations in different countries, but from what they've heard, they're interested in them. But right now, we have our own elections coming up in
Oh,
October, and they're not being postponed. So I guess most of the people in Georgia are focused on that. But
definitely.
sure, we also want all the best for all
Okay,
the countries.
I didn't know that actually. So, at least for the elections in Georgia, then is coronavirus like response a big focus right now? Would you say?
Yeah, so elections, well, they were actually said to be postponed, but now we've heard that they're not going to be postponed.
Mm.
And all, like, probably a lot of people who are over 18, me too, we're
Mm.
going to, somehow make our voices heard. But I guess it really depends on the situation regarding COVID-19. Maybe it gets postponed, the elections, if we have even more cases every
Yeah.
day.
A big focus for the US is they're not postponing because they feel like they've done it forever since their country started. They need to keep doing it at this time. I think in the US, though, they have a very strong mail infrastructure. Like the US Postal Service is extremely good. Is that
Yeah.
for you guys, is your infrastructure that well developed or is it not, would you say?
I don't think so. And I don't think I've heard of a case where people voted via mail.
Hmm.
I think there were some cases in the US, but not in Georgia. So I don't think the mailing system will be used
Yeah.
this year.
So we'll definitely have to see then for that. I think just as a final note, what would you say to all the people that might be watching this? Because I know a lot of people don't know about Georgia. What would you want them to just know about your country, maybe who you are? What would you like to tell them? And what do you feel like might be the biggest thing that they might be missing out on?
Well, especially now because of COVID-19, traveling has been a challenge for a lot of people. But come to Georgia and you'll see everything all yourself. Like after the COVID-19 pandemic is over, um, you'll simply just like it here, and you'll learn more about this country because we like guests. We really, really love guests.
Hmm.
Yeah, kind regards to all the countries from Georgia.
Yeah, and for all of the guys watching, I know that a lot of the places that I've talked about, you might not hear about a lot on media, but really there's so many different places and cultures and people that you can meet that it's really important to understand that there are so many more people outside than your own social group or even the local news that you watch. So once again, thank you so much, Aline, for your time. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me. It's been really interesting. Thank you.